Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. In this video, we will be adding categories to our tasks. Till the earlier videos, we have completed our task module through which we are able to create all the tasks, that is create, read, update and delete all the tasks. Also, we are able to archive some of the tasks and archive all the tasks. Right, so in this video, we will be completing the following module of task category. Now the task category will be simply some tags for task. For example, a tag for food, school, homework, or television, computers, internet, etc. etc. Right. So what I'll do, I'll simply copy these four files. Right. I'll copy four files and paste it here. Also, I'll rename all of them. Now, once you have renamed them, what we have to do, we have to simply rename everything. Right. So here I'll be simply adding task category and here task category controller. Similar things we have to do in all of our cases. For example, here the category module will be task category module and the controller will be task category controller. Easy, it will be same things. Similarly here the repository will be task category repository. Right, and once we have done this, let's have the provider name be task category provider. Also we shall be requiring a new entity, so let's do that as well. But now here I will be requiring task category service. So let's also do one thing, that is create a new entity. Right, now I have already told you how to create an entity and how to play with an entity, so on and so on. Right, so what I'll do, I'll simply create a new file. So let's call it task category.entity.typescript. Right, so let's copy everything from this side and paste it here. But here I'll simply call my entity to be task category and the entity class name to be task category entity. Now what I'll do, I'll simply rename some of the things here. Right, it will be task category ID and a task category title. Right, and that's all. We don't require any other thing rather than this. So let's remove it, and also let's remove our this column. Right, so once we have done this, let's hot fix everything. Right, so once we have done this thing, what we can do now, let's go under task category, and here under task service we have to provide here task category entity, and also we have to name this thing to be task category entity. Now once we have done this thing, we should be able to remove all the things that we don't need. Right, but before that, what I want to do is, first of all, we shall be requiring this method. So here I'll simply call it task create task category. Right, it will be requiring nothing but simply category title. So let's say task category title. Also let's say do one thing, let's add some description under the entity. Nothing happens, so let's paste it here, and here let's say that we will be adding some description of it if the user needs it, and it's nullable, so let's make it nullable. Right, so once we have done this thing, let's go back under our service, and here I'll be also requiring task category description. Right, so here what I'll do, I'll simply say it will be task category entity for an instance of task category entity. Right, so let's do this thing here, and let's have a title to be title and description for a description, and that's it. All right, so once we have done this thing, let's paste it here. Cool, so let's quick fix everything, and here it should be task category entity. All right, now on this thing we should be also able to fetch our categories. So here I'll simply say fetch task categories. Right, so it will be task category entity and it will be task category. Easy, so let's quick fix everything. Right, and we should not require this method, so let's remove it. We should be requiring this method, create delete task category. So here I'll simply say task category ID for a task category ID, and here it will be a task category. Now I've already explained these things in the previous videos, so if you are getting stuck, kindly watch the previous videos. Right, it will help you a lot. Right, so here let's quick fix everything, and everything will be same, and we don't require to update this thing, so we can remove it out as well. Easy, and that should be it for our entire method. So let's update everything, and let's go to controller, and here I'll be adding task category service. Similarly, here we shall be having a task category service. So let's paste this thing here, and I will be creating here a new method, create task category, and here I'll simply call it create task category. Right, similarly we shall be able to fetch all the task categories. So let's paste it here, and finally let's delete some task category as well, paste it here, and we shall be requiring an argument of task category. Right, so let's go back and let's paste our parameter as task category id, and we don't require these methods, so let's delete them out. Right, so we shall be also requiring this method here and delete task category. Cool, so we already got this method. Right, no problem. So we have done these things. Right, so now what we have to do, we have to go back to our module, and here I'll say task category provider and task category service. Now simply provide everything here and add a service as well. Right, so once we have done this thing, the last step remaining is about adding this minor module under our main modules. So I'll simply paste it here and import it. Right, so this should be it. We should be able to run our entity here. So if I open a terminal and if I simply say npm run start under debug section, you can see we should be able to run everything here, and also we should be able to get a path for our task category. Right, it should be here task category as page and etc. Right, now here's a major part. What we have to do, we have to link a task with the category. For example, if there is a task of create YouTube videos, that task might fall under a category of, let's say, videos or YouTube. Right, so we have to connect our task entity with our task category entity. Right, so I'll show you a way through which you should be able to do that. So what we have to do, under task entity, we have to create a table with a relation of many to many. Now what is a relation? A relation combines two different entities with the help of this decorator. Now the relation can be one to one, one to many, many to one, and many to many. Now let me explain to you. One to one will be referring to a single category, will be referred to a single task. Right. One to many will be requiring that a single category can be mapped to multiple tasks. Right. But many to many helps us in that many categories can be mapped to many tasks. Right. So with that point of view, we shall be requiring many to many relation here. So here I'll simply say task category entity, right, with the relation. And after this, what we have to do, we have to take an instance value. So to do that, we have to create here a new what we call that property. So here I'll simply call it task categories. It shall be referring to task category entity under an array, because we have a relation of many to many and task categories can be under an array. Now once we have done this thing, we can simply copy this thing and we can say this thing is referring to task categories dot the second relation. Right, so to do that, what I'll do, I'll simply copy the following format and paste everything here. Right, let's import it, and here I'll simply say task category parent. Right, and here it will be task category, not task but not category but task itself. So here let's add a task entity, and also here let's add a task entity. Now here we shall have to write here task category parent, and it shall be referring to task categories. Right, let's quick fix everything just like this. Now let's copy the name, and if I go back, so under a task entity, what we can do, we can paste our format here. Right, so what this means, our task categories is linked to task category parent, and our task category parent is linked to task categories. Right, so this way everything is linked up. Now what we have to do, whenever a user will be creating a new task, we have to link that task with its category. Right, so let's do that thing. So here under task categories, what we have to do, we have to take a new input called as task categories IDs. Right, we shall be requiring the IDs of all the task categories. Right, so let's quick fix everything. And now what I'll do, here I'll be calling here my repository of a task and task category entity. So to do that, what we have to do, I'll simply say here repo for now should be equal to get repository. Right, under this I have to simply add task category entity. Right, so once we have done this thing, what I can do, I can say constant data, or let's say const category data should be equal to await repo dot create query builder. Is we can add a different method instead of create query builder, we can say find by IDs. Now this is a depreciated method, but following will be coming up. But here I'll simply do one thing, I'll simply add task category IDs. Right, so we have got our task category data. Now I can create one more property here, and I can say here categories, and I can refer my category data here. Right, so here I'll simply call out my repo to be task category entity, paste it here, and that's it. Right, so now what we can do, we can hover over it and quick fix everything. Right, so once this is done, we are simply attaching our task category to our task entity as well. Right, so what we can do now, we simply have to create some task categories and link them with our task. Right, so let's do that thing. So let's open our Postman. Okay, let's open our Postman and let's go back to our task planner, and we have a task category section. Right, so here the port is 3000. Right, let's go under our category controller, and the name is create task category. Right, so it will be requiring different things. So let's go back, and it will be requiring two data here. Alright, so here let's add a task category title and a description. Right, so demo task category description, and let's remove this thing out. So now what the mistake we are doing is we have to also provide here task category entity. Right, this was a mistake that we were doing. Now let's go back, and if I send a request here, you can see now we are able to get all the categories, and the description is null, but the only description not null is this one, right? Because these were my previous data and this is my new data. So right now what we can do, we can also use our delete task category method to delete all the categories. Right, so here let's add this format and let's try to delete some of the categories. Let's say 1. Alright, so we should be adding different method here. Okay, so it should be a delete request. So let's add a delete request and a delete one, and here we should be requiring a category ID. So let's go back, and we should be able to paste it here just like this. Right, so if I go back and if I send a delete request, and again you can see affected is 1, and if I fetch all the categories again, the 1 is gone. Let's try to delete the second one. Yeah, the second is also gone. Let's fetch it. Yeah, it's gone. Right, so we are able to create some categories. Now what we have to do, we have to simply add those categories under our task. Right, so what I can do, I can go back under create task, and here under create task I'll also add a new key here of category IDs, and here I'll be able to add the categories. Now let's send a request. Now I'll add a category of 14 under my create task. Right, so here I'll simply say category of play games. Right, so description. Yeah, if I send a request now, okay, cannot read properties. Let's go back, let's quick fix everything. What's happening here? Okay, so we have forget to do one thing. Let's go back under our entities, and we have to also join the table. Right, so here I'll simply say join table. This format is required to let the type ORM know who is the parent. Right, so let's go back and let's create a task. Right, so now you can see we have created a new task, and also we have appended the categories. Right, now to fetch the task, if I simply send a fetch request, you can see we are not able to see the categories. Right, so to fetch it up, to what we have to do, we have to go back under our task category service, and while we are fetching all the tasks, we have to also join our table. So to do that, what we have to do, we have to simply add the following section of left join and select task dot task categories, and here we should be adding a new alias name which will be task categories. All right, let's quick fix everything, and now we should be able to get all the tasks. Right, let's delete this column. Yeah, so let's also add this thing under our archive task just like this. Yeah, so now if I go back and I send a get request or a post request, my bad. Okay, let's fetch tasks. Let's fetch them from here. Yeah, so now you can see we are able to fetch the categories of the particular task, that is task category 22, play games, description, etc., and task categories. Right, so these are things we'll be working on. We should be able to add the categories under our application. Right, now I hope you have loved this video. I have solved all the bugs and errors in front of you. I haven't hidden anything because I want to let every people watching the video know that all the developers face issues, everyone face issues, and you have to solve these issues. Right, and I love to solving issues in front of people. Right, so now once we have done this thing, the last thing we have to do is about create a new section under our entity for the status, right? So what I'll do, I'll simply copy my task title, paste it here, and I'll call it task status, right? So it will the default value should be there. So the default value will be to do. The task title, as soon as it is made, it will be a to do one, right? So now what we have to do, we have to go back under our task service, and we have to create a new method to update the task status, right? So what we can do now, we can go here, we can copy our set archive method, and here I'll simply add a new method of set status, right? So here I'll simply say task status, and I'll only set as a task status here, right? So let's go back under our controller, and we should be able to copy this thing, paste it here, and I'll simply say here set status, and set status, copy, paste, right? Easy thing. Now what we can do, we can, if I go back and if I fetch all the tasks, you can see there is one more section now of task status, and the default status of everything is to do, right? So now let's create let's use this set task. So now let's create one more method here to update the status, right? So if I go back, the method name is set status, copy it, instead of fetch, let's paste it here, and under body we should be requiring different things here. Let's go back, let's visit this thing, let's copy the task status and ID, let's paste everything here. The task ID should be some 22 for now, I guess it is 22, the latest one, and the task status will be for now start, right? Let's say the start status. Let's send a put request, let's send a request. Cool. So now if I fetch the task, the last one should be the start status, right? Now I can also update the status to be end. So if I send the request, and if I fetch the tasks for the last one, it should be end. Yeah, it is end, and in this way we have concluded the backend, right? So now if I go here, I'll simply say set status of task. Right, so we have successfully completed our entire backend. Now the only thing remaining is about the front end integration and creating a beautiful UI. Now if you have followed the video till now, if you have followed the entire series till this point, thank you so much for visiting my YouTube channel and watching these videos. It means a lot to me. Right, now make sure you are practicing everything that I am teaching you so far. Everything that you will do today, you will be using it under some industry, under any company, under internship, so on and so on. So I'll see you in the next video where we'll be creating beautiful UI, and also we'll be integrating our backend with front end. Till then, I hope you are doing fine. Goodbye.